So there's a YouTuber I've been following for a while now named IEmanuella, and she's a nice person, the kind of person who even calls out other Christians for shunning atheists or for not loving gay people.
Sadly, as was shown in her latest video, IE's concept of loving gay people is not love at all. It attempts to attack their very identity and feelings whilst claiming to emanate love. In layman's terms, this is utterly false, and I would ask you to check your concept of love, as it seems to be corrupted in a very abusive sense, a lot like that of the God of the Bible. Greetings and welcome there people of YouTube, this is Essence of 40, and of course I'm doing a video response, and of course I am still in Norway, hence no video, unless of course you wanted to look up my nose. So yes, today I'm doing a video response to Johannen's Raatz video called Homophobia, Bigotry and IEmanuella versus YouTube Atheist Brats, or YABS for short, which is publicly known as Young Woman Attacked for Her Beliefs. Nice attempts to save there. So with that, let's just continue without further ado.
In fact, one of her old videos even challenged me once before, and I would have recommended her channel were it not for the fact that she has since deleted her account. But that's what this video is all about. See, after the recent Duck Dynasty incident, she made a video on homosexuality wherein she basically reiterated the orthodox Christian position on it. You know that it's not the intended purpose for sex.
No, she gave a bigoted speech in which she attempted to attack LGBT equality in a number of ways and passed it off as love. I'm sure you'll give me ample opportunity to elaborate on this though.
And if you watched her video, you would see that unlike some, she was not hateful or bigoted about it, nor was she trying to push her views down anyone's throat. In fact, she went to greater lengths than most people I know to encourage people to adopt the love the sinner attitude.
You know, her video wasn't that long. It was only 6 minutes. You could have played through the entirety. Or, at the very least, you could have linked to a mirrored video in your description. Which you didn't do either of those things. It's almost as if you intentionally don't want people to actually watch her video, and both of us know why, I believe. Luckily, I still have my copy of her video, and I shall, go through and let's play a couple of clips, shall we? Simplest way to go through it.
But the truth is, the LGBT community knows nothing about what real Christians believe. So let's get biblical. Leviticus 18 verse 22. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination. Leviticus 20 verse 13. If a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination.
Now she skips part of the passage, so allow me to give it in full. Leviticus 20:13, the New International Version, reads as, If a man has sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They are to be put to death, their blood will be on their own heads. So you think that by quoting a passage that actually orders the death of LGBT members, she is somehow not being hateful or bigoted? But hey, let's just forget the Trojan-esque tactic of attempting to sneak this by, by breaking the commandments on not to lie. The very language itself, abomination or, detestable, is hateful. It is teaching that this is wrong, even though everything has been shown to be contrary. Homosexuality has been shown to no end to be natural and to be a healthy variant of human sexuality, and is found across a number of different species throughout nature as well. So in humans it's natural, in animals it's natural, it is not an abomination. Simple.
One of the most requested topics I received on IEmanuella has been homosexuality. For the longest time, I tried to avoid it. I reasoned it this way. For me, it was like saying murder is wrong, or adultery is wrong, or the sky is blue.
So you see, Raatzy boy, she herself stated it was like saying murder is wrong. She'll then come back to this later, but let's continue here and see what she has to say.
Yeah, it never made sense to me why homosexuality was pulled out of this category and labeled okay by mainstream media. It was very impersonal to me, so I figured let somebody who has a burden for this deal with it. But here I am. The reason why I decided to talk about this, recently I discovered that homosexuality was a lot closer to me than I ever dreamed. And I'm finally ready to get real about it. One day, all of a sudden, it put on a face that I recognized and I cared about. It was extremely unexpected. It shook my world, and all of a sudden, homosexuality became personal. My feelings towards homosexuality has not changed, but my feelings towards homosexuals has, which I feel has distinguished my approach from the majority of my Christian brothers and sisters. When this person built up the courage to be real with me about this issue, it was so unexpected, but I knew for a split second I was feeling what Jesus feels towards people who are struggling with this. It was pure, unutterable love and concern. Not the love that pats on the back and says it's all good. It was the love that seeks to reform.
Sadly, Raatzy boy, neither you or her know anything about love. Love is not rejecting a part of a person's identity, who they are, who they actually love. All that exists here is homophobia, a complete lack of understanding leading to an irrational fear, hatred or disgust. What's more is that this is leading her to develop some form of messiah syndrome for a null issue. There is nothing wrong with homosexuality. There is nothing wrong with homosexuals. There is no need for concern other than with the existence of people like you and her. That's the only thing that should concern people of the LGBT community and those who seek to support them. People like you, bigoted and expressing hateful views. Moving on.
I believe that homosexuality as a practice is a blatant attack on the character of God. Two things were instituted at creation, the Sabbath and the holy union of marriage between a man and a woman. Time and time again, God identifies his relationship with us as a groom to a bride. It is holy, sacred, and designed with a purpose.
So all she's saying here is that gays cannot have a meaningful union, aka marriage. See, I can play videos from hers and show what I mean. It's called evidence, Raatzy boy. I suggest you get some.
Many people struggle with anger issues since childhood. Does that justify them walking to a school one day and shooting 20 kids? Desire does not excuse behavior. Many people struggle with a desire to touch people. Does that justify molestation? Others struggle with sexual desires towards children. Does that justify pedophilia? Whether we like it or not, there was a time when homosexuality was not okay. We have to ask ourselves, are we going to reach a place in time where pedophilia or molestation will be justified?
This is what made me flip out in my original video. And you, as well as your friends, have denied it as she said. She has equated sex between two consenting adults with gunning down children, sexual assault, and child molestation. And you dare say she wasn't hateful, bigoted, and homophobic. You need someone to place a boot up your backside to bring you back to reality. Oh, and for those who think that she's not equating the two and she sees them as different, play on.
Whoa, hold up. Homosexuality is different. It's not hurting anyone. Not hurting anyone? In 2005, according to the Joint United Nations Program on AIDS and the CDC, in San Francisco, 90% of all new AIDS infections are among men who have sex with men. In Los Angeles, 71% of those living with AIDS are gay or bisexual men. Not to mention the more than 50% of all AIDS transmission in the US to be due to male-male sexual contact. Last I checked, AIDS hurts.
So you see, she specifically argues that it is the same, regardless of the lies that Derezzed and Raatz have put out. As for the argument itself, I dealt with it in my original video, so I will give the quick version. Church demonized homosexuality, especially when the AIDS first appeared. This meant homosexuals could not buy protection, ergo a self-fulfilling prophecy was formed. Homosexuality and contraception are still stigmatized, but less so. Studies have shown that stigma goes down and acceptance goes up. HIV rates also go down. So, Raatz, back to your video.
However, this was apparently not good enough for certain individuals who decided to behave like creeps. See, a number of YouTube atheists quickly showed up and started to act like they had sticks up their butt. At first I thought this was a little amusing, stupid trolls throwing childish temper tantrums because someone said something politically incorrect. And if this was merely vociferous disagreement, I wouldn't really care. But this quickly turned into an avalanche of vitriolic bullying of the most sickening nature I have ever seen. What they did was cruel, and it got so bad that IEmanuella finally deleted 2 of her channels, her Facebook page, and even her blog. Now, my friend Derezzed83 suspects that she may have received private death threats. I don't know about that, but
speculated is key here. As for the worst of comments, her video had thousands of comments. Some people on YouTube are dicks. You yourself noted there are trolls. Therefore, in thousands of comments, you are going to find a good number of trolls. Sorry, that's just the way it is.
Anyway, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's planning to do a video on this whole debacle as well, so stay tuned.
Maybe he won't lie about what she said, like he did in the comments on your test video. Oh no, wait. When I went looking for those comments, you had removed the video so I couldn't find them. However, his video was already up. It's only 2 minutes long, so why don't we give it a little check out, a little detour if you will.
Hey everyone, this is my video response to IEmanuella. Now, IEmanuella made a video about a week ago in which she talked about gay marriage. Basically, she was endorsing a traditional concept of marriage.
10 seconds in and one lie already. Her video was not about gay marriage. It was against homosexuality as a whole. She used marriage as one of her arguments against homosexuality as a whole. Did you watch the video at all?
Her video definitely wasn't hateful. Maybe it wasn't as subtle as I was hoping it to be. Maybe I would have worded some of her arguments a bit differently. But it definitely wasn't a hateful video.
So that's 23 seconds in and another lie, as my entire previous segment showing what she has actually said has shown. Does the word truth have any meaning to you?
But the reaction she has been getting has been utterly disturbing and vile.
What? All of it? Including the sound comments pointing out how she fails to follow the other parts of the scripture, but orders homosexuals to do so? Or are you just focusing down on the trolls, the minority? As a video maker, I have told my own commenters to watch what they say. Even had a go at one for being racist at K. Cortez, calling him a beaner. So it's not like we are trying to push this out. It's a minority, a stupid minority. You know, yeah, there are certain things like she was being a bitch, she was being an absolute dick. That's proven. I've shown that in the clips that I've shown. Yeah, that's fine. Actual threats, nobody, none of us has supported that in any way. No one who has created a video focused at her has supported that. So, really, you're just grasping at straws here. So why focus on the anonymous commenters and not on the videos? It just shows your inability to make an actual argument.
Basically, some people were inciting sexual assault against her, other people were inciting violence, and I think that's completely unacceptable. Basically, the thought of living in a society where you can be labeled, you know, a hateful bigot or somebody whose views are not to be tolerated just for endorsing traditional concepts of marriage, the thought of living in that society.
Could you stop lying about the traditional concept of marriage thing? First of all, it's not historically accurate, as if you look at before the Middle Eastern religions came over, it wasn't, you know, an abominable thing, so you've lost that one. And also, that's not the whole point of her video. So please, again, just stop lying about it. She equated homosexuality with gunning down and raping children, and then argued against the response that it's not the same. So you are stuck. You have nowhere to run.
Kind of scare me. At what point as a society did we get to this point where just for having, you know, differing opinions on marriage and endorsing traditional concepts of marriage, you can be compared to a slave owner, a racist, and people can incite violence against you, like what happened to IEmanuella.
Right. Well, Ephesians 6:5, i.e. slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, and with sincerity in your heart, just as you would obey Christ, was used against her to point out how the Bible is no place to get one's morality from. That's what the point of that quote was. Just as the one with Timothy was to point out how her own Bible forbid her from teaching man or attempting to assert authority over man. Therefore, she was being hypocritical. She was not following her own text, and she demanded that people leave behind the ones they love and follow her text. That is a major hypocrisy. Why can't you guys understand that?
So I think it's very unfortunate what happened to IEmanuella. She was forced to close her YouTube, her Twitter, her Facebook, or whichever account she had.
Nobody forced her. She made the conscious decision to do so after a chat with Mr. Repzion, who claims to have screenshots of the conversation if one is curious.
And basically she was bullied off the internet. So I hope she does come back to YouTube, because I did enjoy watching her videos, and I thought she made really good videos. And again, I just want to point out the utter hypocrisy in all of this, where people who claim to be really tolerant just completely lose it when confronted with differing opinions, and when confronted with people who endorse traditional sexual ethics. So thank you for listening.
Sexual ethics is dealing with consent, something you three don't seem to understand. With Christians so lacking in knowledge of consent, I can't imagine what those Christian dating websites I get the ads for are like. It can't be pretty. But yes, back to Raatzy boy.
Now, to you responsible parties out there, and there are many of you, let me show you what you just did. This is a clip from one of IEmanuella's older videos still on YouTube.
Yeah, don't really care, man. Previous videos don't have an effect on this one unless they're actually linked by her. Anyway, I'm going to skip to the parts where you do actually talk, get rid of those points that, it's just her video playing, as it has no relevance to this video at all. It's just so much bull, and I've got a lot of your own bull to sift through. I don't have time to do other people's bull again. I will link the video down below, however, something you clearly don't like doing, as you didn't link Mr. Repzion's video, but yes, the full video made by Raatzy boy will be linked down below, so if you really wanted to, you could go and see the segment and see if I'm lying about whether or not it's just a previous video and it's not him really talking. So yes, anyway, let's just go on to the next segment.
This is a person who would have stuck up for you and been sympathetic towards you, in contrast to any number of people with less patience. This is the kind of person who would have gladly been your friend.
Whilst trying to figure out how to change every aspect of you, thus betraying your trust and compassion, and thus being a very shitty friend.
That's the kind of person IEmanuella is. Was. And how did you gang of sociopaths repay her?
By pulling apart her argument. Albeit, I was a little miffed whilst doing it, understandably so as an LGBT member.
You took one of the nicest, kindest Christians on YouTube, and you dragged her through the mud before crucifying her.
If this is your nicest, then I'd hate to know your worst. Having a pretty face doesn't make a pretty argument.
I hope you're all real proud of yourselves.
Well, yeah, pretty much, Just like the very small part I played in the whole Cartesian theist thing, the very minute part I played there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. Someone made absolute bullshit claims, I called them out for it. Yeah. Don't see why I should feel ashamed about that.
You despicable coward spit on a kind hand, so don't expect anything from me, and make no mistake, I have the goods on you, and you're going to be held accountable.
Right. Well, that is on par with a threat. You are now threatening us. Do you not see the hypocrisy here?
You sicken me. I would suggest that we start to flag these people, but I'll get to that at the end. Anyway, I would like to look at the reaction to the video and why it was so extreme. If this was Westboro, I wouldn't be surprised, nor particularly opposed for that matter. However, it appeared these scumbags went off the deep end over someone simply trying to express their view in the nicest way possible.
Which, of course, is naturally to demonize an entire group, placing them on par with Christians like Andres Breivik or kiddie-fiddling Catholic priests. Loving.
So why did they react like this? Well, I found several comments that were very telling. It appears that in their minds, merely disapproving of homosexuality is identical to bigotry or homophobia, and therefore anyone suggesting otherwise should be viciously attacked and cowed into silence.
Except that huge heap of bigotry and evidence of bigotry that I played earlier. Hear no bigotry, see no bigotry. Denial at its finest, But what more do I expect from theists?
What they are suggesting, whether they realize it or not, is that sex should be disconnected from its natural telos of reproduction.
You idiot. You seriously did not just make that classical mistake. The response, the classical one, what about heterosexuals who are infertile? By your own argument, they are not allowed to have sex as it is highly immoral. Also, only 30% of women can reach orgasm through penetration, whilst this flips around to be 70% who can receive it through clitoral stimulation, i.e. with the hands or the mouth. What does this tell you about sex? That it's not all about making babies, but forming deep social bonds for a deep social species. Also, there are plenty of children in orphanages and adoption homes who are able to get secure and loving households with a family that wants them, thanks to LGBT and infertile individuals. Don't demonize them, they're cleaning up your mess.
And if sex is disconnected from teleology, well then it has no meaning or purpose outside of what humans give it. And as we all know, purpose is what defines morality. So without a telos or purpose, sexual morality could not exist in the first place. This is why we saw the recent polygamy ruling in Utah being based on previous precedent on gay marriage. This is also very likely why illegitimacy has risen 30% in Norway since the normalization of gay marriage in the 90s. And this is why many countries that have normalized one form of sexual deviancy also tend to be morally degenerate across the board. And as it turns out, this is the intended goal. The entire point was to disconnect sex from telos, whether most realize it or not. Let me tell you the truth about this, in the words of lesbian activist Masha Jessen.
So you have what exactly? Speculation topped with more speculation. No studies prove what you have just said. And hey, I'm in Norway right now, and I'll tell you it's doing pretty well. It's got a strong economy, low crime rates, low bullying, very little class difference. It's pretty good here, you know. Hey, it boasts that Stavanger is the #1 place to have a heart attack because the medical services are so effective here. Also, why is it that the Norwegian article you mentioned is missing from the description? I wanted to read more on it and whether it's really going up or self-reporting is really just going up and it's just people are more likely to come out about it. So you see, you have not been intellectually honest here, and I can't do anything more with it. But your claims don't take you anywhere either.
I agree. It's a no-brainer that we should have the right to marry. But I also think equally that it's a no-brainer that the institution of marriage should not exist. So that causes my brain some trouble. And part of it, why it causes me trouble, is because fighting for gay marriage generally involves lying about what we're going to do with marriage when we get there. You know, because we lie that the institution of marriage is not going to change. And that is a lie. The institution of marriage is going to change, and it should change. And again, I don't think it should exist.
Now clearly, no morally sane individual would ever suggest something so degenerate as the idea that marriage should not even exist. But it's quite apparent what's going on here.
Well, actually, you'll find that the entire ideology known as Marxist feminists perceive the family as merely a patriarchal construction to oppress the females, as well as to allow inheritance of property, i.e. to keep the rich rich and the poor poor. It is a method of control by the bourgeoisie. So that's an entire group that believes that. But, you know, how does the view of one woman or even an entire group affect what I think? How does that work? I view marriage as a wonderful thing. A civil institution that dates back to the first of mankind and his earliest rituals. Oh, and by the way, some cultures like Native Americans allowed for gay marriage and even celebrated them as dual spirits, just as they celebrated trans individuals as dual spirits as well. So, you have no argument here. Only one religious background in the Middle East, i.e. the Abrahamic religions, has really come down on homosexuality. In other cases where religions come down on homosexuality, this very often comes after Western influence. Have you noticed that? Do some facts checking, and actually learn something.
Once sex is disconnected from telos, sexual morality is abandoned in favor of crass hedonism and pig morality.
Oh, you just became a hypocrite. Have a go at others for being insulting, insult others. Well done. Look, I'll just make this clear so we can watch through the rest of your rubbish. In my book, if we have two consenting adults who want to get married, let them. It's not my business. End of story. Remember, two consenting adults.
Now, I am by no means suggesting that gay marriage is the only causative factor behind this disconnection of sex and telos, but its broader disconnection is why cretins like Dan Savage ridicule monogamy as ridiculous. This is why prostitution has been legalized in Canada and the Netherlands. This is why there are such political abominations as pro-choice. This is why Miley Cyrus is cheered when she dances across stage like a slut.
I don't like Miley Cyrus any more than you do, but go fuck yourself. On how she decides to enjoy herself, you prudish arsehole. It does not harm you in any way. Get over it. As for the rest, they're issues that your position has no real backing on, so you're just going to cry immoral, when that's all it is, just crying immoral. You've got nothing to support your position on any of them. Really, you need to learn something, go out, read a few things, do some studying, basics, basic human intelligence and basic growth of it.
This is why the completely objective and totally unpoliticized APA has labeled pedophilia as a sexual orientation.
Because it is. But unlike with homosexuality, there cannot be consent given by a child. You morons don't understand that one C word, do you? Seriously, you need to go and learn what that C word is. If you do not learn what that C word is, and you go out and try finding a girl, we're going to end up with Deuteronomy 22, 28 through 29, where you rape her, aren't we?
This is why a 60-year-old pedophile in Italy was just acquitted from molesting an 11-year-old child due to the court's considerations on their, quote, amorous relationship.
And I would view this as equally wrong, so you are making no argument here.
This is why organizations like Femin are allowed to act like wild animals.
Actually, the topless thing is equality, I believe, and I do not have a problem with that, but the rest of their actions, I do. So, you have no argument here. You're trying to say that we agree with something which we don't agree with. That doesn't stand. So, your BS has been so extensive that I'm having to actually come to an end here. I'm going to have to actually make a second video going through the rest of your BS, because it is that extensive. You have lied and deceived in so many different ways. But this is the end of the first segment. I'll be back with the second one soon, but go give that one a look. Because I had to go through all of this, as it's all one video. If I didn't do it, I'd be called out for not being intellectually honest. I'd be showing little clips here and there. But yes, we'll go through the second part in a second video. Okay? This is Essence of Thought. Take care and out.